Serena Teapot, we've got a lot of items added to the game, and while these items don't exactly have any groundbreaking lore behind them, there are some small interesting details that could be seen as foreshadowing or just fun little character details. So it seemed like it would be a fun idea to look through some of the descriptions that I've had unlocked from my own home and unpack them. For example, there's the fur case shelf combination description that mentions that a certain alchemist wanted to add cryo slime to the shelf to help food last longer, only for the knights to say no, because obviously that would be very dangerous. This is clearly a reference to a fridge in real life. It's interesting to think of which of our two alchemists might have come up with the idea, but since it's rooted in food and the knights were so quick to turn down the idea, it was probably Sucrose. After all, the knights kind of look at Albedo and go, yeah, you're a genius, we'll do whatever, man. And that's not the only time that Sucrose is mentioned in none of these item descriptions. In the Alchemist component Burden of Dust set, there's a reference to a time when Sucrose accidentally messed up the measurements and may have made a power that caused her to endlessly laugh and need medical attention. So, she sort of made drugs. But not all the descriptions are as funny as those. The large birch wardrobe mentions children being afraid of the spacious wardrobe at night and needing to go to the church for comfort. Among the fears that were listed there is, unfortunately, an alcoholic father drunk off their gourd. While there's quite a lot of alcoholics in Mondstadt, it makes sense that this would be a reference to Diona. After all, her character revolves around the issues that she has with her father and his drinking. That also means that Diona's problems are a lot deeper psychologically than she lets on. Though she's very tough on him now, she was probably more wary when she was younger. It's also likely that this is to show that there are quite a few characters who've gone through the same thing, and honestly, it makes sense that Diona is so determined to take down the wine industry with this, and I kind of support her. That I want to hug her. I feel so bad. Poor little Diona. And then there's the silver sand coconut tree. It's a pretty standard coconut tree, growing in warm and moist places, and the only thing that really sets it apart from the white sand coconut tree is that the silver sand tree produces more coconut. What's interesting about it is that the Fatui agents have been looking to obtain the seeds of the tree, paying a lot of money for them, and that doesn't make a lot of sense. The Fatui are from a very cold climate location, Shesnaya's landscape being designed based on Siberia. Even the seaside village that Tartagular grew up in was freezing, and that's what makes this so interesting. With the Fatui looking for the trees that generate the most food, but is worthless in their own climate, they must be preparing for one of two things. One, they're planning on making a base in an area where the climate does allow for the trees to grow, and the area that they plan to stay in won't be like Mondstadt, where the Fatui agents can stay in town. Instead, the Fatui will have to try and take care of themselves. Or two, they have plans for Shesnaya. This is kind of far-fetched, but in a world full of magic, it would be possible for them to completely change the climate of their homeland. Venti actually already did that with Mondstadt, making it a warm place instead of the freezing wasteland that it used to be. To compensate for the changes, the Fatui would be looking for other resources that they could bring back to the new Shesnaya, like a way to supply food. And in a way, it makes sense that Tartagular would join a group like that. We don't know a lot about the other Fatuis, but we do know that Mr. Child over there cares first and foremost about his family. His first character quest involves his little brother and trying to keep up appearances for him. His overall goal is really just to keep them safe and prove that he's very powerful. If the Tsaritsa promised him that she wanted the Gnosis to make their home safer, of course he'd join the Fatui. And she would need the other Gnosis. Unlike Venti, who could snap his fingers and make a warm wind, she's the Archon of Cryo, so she can't make anything warmer. The idea would also make the line of burning away the old world literal. And I, for one, stupidly love things that are taken one way and then end up just being completely literal. It would be amazing if that was what it was, where everybody's like, no, you're evil, we have to stop you. And then it's just like, no, we're sick and tired of the cold. There could also be a small reference to Celestia with the Stratra's Cold Stone. The traveler who first found the stone at the top of a cliff believed that it was a broken off piece of cloud, hence the stone's name. And that story makes a lot of children wonder if there are people living in the skies. And we know that there technically is. Celestia floats above Teyvat. It would make sense then that the stone could have come from there, and that's what the meaning is. And there honestly isn't a lot of information around this, and I'm really stretching with this one, but it got into my head that it could be a representation of the idea that Celestia is possibly more valuable than we first assumed. After all, if a bit of Celestia can fall, what else can come down? With the Abyss's order's goal to take down the entirety of Celestia? Maybe they'll succeed. Obviously, there's a lot hidden amongst the descriptions of the furniture, and I have spent way too long reading the ones that I've managed to make, because now I'm making crazy theories. But it's still fun to read them and see what's hidden amongst them, even just small little character stuff. Like, apparently Kaya has frightened the children about these lamps and makes them think that there's fairies inside. Like, it's so weird. It's so fun to look at, and I definitely recommend if you have the time to go through them.